salute. Bring them up.
Good morning, viewers, listeners, fellow Namibians, members of the organized legal profession, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Deputy Chief Justice and Director of Proceedings this morning. I wish to welcome you to the launch of the 2021 legal year. As you all know, we are living in extraordinarily difficult times that call for creative solutions. Because the pandemic is still raging on, the decision was taken to avoid this year's legal year launch becoming a super spreader event. We therefore come to you this morning live and virtually on both visual and audio online streaming platforms. This morning, my duty as your Director of Proceedings is to present to you the sequence in which today's proceedings will unfold. Immediately after my remarks, we'll have a choral performance followed by the speech of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Namibia. The Chief Justice's speech will be followed by a short video about the Office of the Judiciary. The speech by the President of the Republic of Namibia, His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, will then follow, whereafter another choir will render a piece. The final speaker this morning will be the Chief Magistrate, with a vote of thanks followed by the anthems. The entire proceedings are estimated to last for about an hour, and we therefore plead with you to stay tuned so that we can both inform and entertain you. Thank you very much.
Be with us, Lord Jesus, as we follow, dear Lord, we pray. We cry for salvation.
On behalf of the Office of the Judiciary, I thank you all for your support and for tuning in to watch this broadcast for the official opening of the 2021 legal year. In more ways than one, 2019 was an eventful year for the Judiciary of Namibia, and 2020 promises to be no different. This was the opening statement of my address at the opening of the 2020 legal year. Little did I know then what awaited not only Namibia, but the entire world. The COVID-19 pandemic has taken a great toll everywhere, and our thoughts and prayers are with all those who lost family and friends to the virus. The pandemic hit Namibia with a confirmation of the first 2 cases in the country on 14th March 2020. The rest, as they say, is history. I wish to commend His Excellency the President of the Republic and the government of Namibia for the swift response in curbing the spread of the virus with the declaration of a state of emergency and subsequent measures aimed at protecting the public's health. Taking the cue from the measures introduced by the government, I, on 31st of March 2020, issued directions relating to judicial proceedings in all the courts. This had the effect of suspending certain court proceedings and associated processes during the state of emergency. Although the courts did not close their doors entirely, the response to the pandemic, as would be expected, disrupted the operations of the courts. I can confirm to the nation that despite these measures, the judiciary kept the courts functioning. In the immediate aftermath of the announcement of the state of emergency, all efforts were made by the Office of the Judiciary in record time to ensure adequate supply to all courts of personal protective equipment, or PPE, materials such as masks, sanitizers, and gloves to combat the spread of this disease. This helped to minimize the risk of staff members contracting the virus at work and to protect the public when at court premises. The year 2020 was an extraordinary and difficult one. The measures implemented to curb the spread of the virus not only significantly impacted service delivery, but also the way people live and work. The judiciary and its operations, like all other institutions of our state, has been affected by the pandemic and the consequential cuts in expenditure that were necessitated by its outbreak. The challenge this thrust upon the judiciary was to do our best to keep court services running and to deal with a hitherto unknown public health risk with reduced resources. As the world looks to 2021, with hope and a guarded optimism that the pandemic will eventually be overcome, the judiciary continues to take precautions in the meantime, including this arrangement to host for the first time ever the opening of the legal year virtually. The opening of the legal year is an important occasion as it focuses public attention on the administration of justice and the rule of law, and in particular to the challenges we face as one of the 3 organs of the state. On this occasion, I will share with the nation the most important activities undertaken in 2020 across the judiciary, the notable accomplishments, the challenges facing us, and the judiciary's plans for the year and beyond. The golden thread that runs through the breakdown that I will give is that court services, although hampered by the pandemic, did not stop, and that in the process we learned to adapt to the new reality and to innovate. The lessons learned and innovations made out of necessity will be internalized and will be used even when these things return to normalcy. The breakdown I give includes all the courts, general administration, and the financial affairs of the judiciary. I would like to start with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. It hears appeals and entertains reviews from the High Court, and is a court of first instance in election disputes involving the outcome of presidential elections. It is also a court of first instance in respect of matters referred to it by the Attorney General in terms of Article 79(2) of the Namibian Constitution. It is important, therefore, that the Supreme Court provides leadership in a way that improves on the delivery of justice by eradicating backlogs and ensuring speedy finalization of cases that come before it. In both respects, the Supreme Court has done well, as the 2020 statistics demonstrate. In reserved matters, the Supreme Court strives to deliver judgments within 3 months of the hearing taking place. Although the statistics show that the court's workload increases from year to year, I'm happy to report that during the year under review, the court achieved an 86.5% rate in the delivery of reserved judgments within the guidelines. Overall, the 2020 statistics demonstrate that the Supreme Court is performing optimally and generally meeting the public's expectation of speedy justice. The yearly increase in the Supreme Court's workload is encouraging, as it shows that the public has confidence in bringing their disputes to the court for resolution. On the 15th of June 2020, I issued guidelines for the conduct of remote hearings in the Supreme Court in certain circumstances, such as where a non-resident lawyer is unable to appear in person before the court. As a result, a number of appeals enrolled for 2020 June-July term were conducted by means of remote hearings, a first for the highest court in the land. To facilitate the public's right of access to court proceedings, we also introduced live streaming of the court's proceedings on the YouTube platform, and members of the public were able to follow proceedings via visual and audio platforms. Alive to the impact of the COVID-19 virus on the Supreme Court's operations, we are in the process of amending the rules of court in order to bring them in line with the changing times and to formalize the ad hoc arrangements made in 2020. Among the cases to be set down for hearing this year is the appeal matter of Rafael Riazwila Lifumbela and 29 others versus the state. This is a criminal appeal emanating from the treason trial in the High Court. In this matter, the accused persons stood arraigned on several main and alternative charges, including high treason, murder, and attempted murder. They pleaded not guilty, but at the end of the trial, they were convicted and sentenced. The appellants are appealing against their convictions and sentences on those charges. I'm pleased to inform the nation that the judiciary had secured the services of 3 judges from the Southern African region to deal with this appeal. This arrangement has been made because of the logistical impracticability of the court's permanent judges hearing the matter. It is envisaged that the hearing of the matter will take place this year. On behalf of the Namibian judiciary and on my own behalf, I wish to extend our profound gratitude to the honorable judges who have availed themselves to hear the criminal appeal. Moving on then to the High Court. The High Court operates as 2 divisions, or rather as 2 divisions. The main division at Windhoek and the Northern Local Division seated at Oshakati. The court's judges are grouped in a civil stream and a criminal stream, depending on the judges' individual preferences. The High Court is a court of ultimate general or unlimited general jurisdiction, a labor court, an electoral court, and a court of admiralty. It is also an appeal court and a court of review in respect of inferior courts and tribunals. The High Court has published guidelines for the completion of various case types and for the delivery of judgments and rulings. In respect of civil actions, the main division's civil stream judges achieved a 74% within guideline completion rate, while the Northern Local Division achieved 58%. Due to the lockdown measures, the High Court conducted significant percentage of its workload electronically via e-justice and through video conferencing. For example, a significant number of orders were issued from chambers in the absence of the parties, which contributed significantly to service delivery during lockdown. However, the lockdowns and restrictions on travel arising from the declaration of the state of emergency had an impact on the speedy finalization of cases requiring the physical presence of witnesses and litigants. The High Court's ability to innovate and to beat the odds in the face of those difficulties is evident from the fact that the judges in the civil stream delivered more judgments in 2020 compared to 2019, as the statistics show. Similarly, more opposed motions were heard and disposed of in 2020 than in 2019. A total of 1,094 civil cases were referred to court-connected mediation in the two divisions of the High Court, resulting in 621 out-of-court settlements. This is an increase in matters referred to mediation as compared to 2019. The percentage success rate in mediations for the main division for the year under review was 68%, compared to a success rate of 57% in 2019. And the percentage success rate in the mediations for the Northern Local Division for the year under review was 68%, compared to a success rate of 56% in 2019. The latter statistics underscores the fact that the mediation program of the High Court is a success story. The state of emergency forced the High Court's mediation office to rely on internal capacity and extra hours, which resulted in a challenge being converted into an opportunity. The High Court's electronic case management system, which gives access to court services online, no doubt blunted the effect of the pandemic on the work of the civil stream. As the 2020 statistics show, the pandemic had a more direct impact on the disposal of criminal cases, as such cases are dependent on the presence of accused persons and of witnesses who hail from across the country. This resulted in criminal cases either not proceeding or hearings becoming part-heard. For the period under review, the criminal stream of the main division recorded a finalization rate of 30%, and the Northern Local Division recorded a finalization figure of 25% in indictment trial matters. Of the 110 cases appearing on the 2021 court roll for the main division and the Northern Local Division, 58 are part-heard matters, 24 are set down for plea and trial, 25 are on the mention roll, and 4 are to be removed as the accused have absconded. For both divisions, the judges of the criminal stream presided over 288 criminal appeals and finalized 247, representing a 6% finalization rate. The criminal stream judges finalized more criminal appeals in 2020 compared to the 2019 legal year. This statistic demonstrates the reality that the criminal stream performed far better in areas where the presence of witnesses or accused persons was not necessary. An average of 2 to 4 trial days per week had to be postponed or due to state of emergency related reasons, most of which included foreign witnesses and or counsel of witnesses and or counsel from restricted districts. The working space at the High Court main division is now much improved thanks to the ongoing renovation work. The necessary infrastructure for the commercial stream has also been created at the head administrative office of the judiciary. The commercial facility includes 2 high-tech courtrooms equipped with state-of-the-art electronics, which allow for dual document display and audio-video recording of proceedings, enabling the High Court to preside over cases virtually, meeting world-class standards. The High Court rules are in the process of being reviewed in order to create a dispensation for the resolution of commercial disputes more speedily. We are confident that these measures will enhance the efficiency of the High Court going forward. Moving on then to the lower courts. The lower courts comprise the regional courts and district courts. Across the country, there are 6 permanent regional court seats, while 9 regional court magistrates serve a total of 24 towns on circuit basis. There are 34 permanent district court seats across the country and 37 periodical courts served by 90 district court magistrates. These courts deal with criminal, civil, and family cases. Magistrates' courts remained open during the state of emergency with reduced working hours from 8 to until 1300 hours. Although certain services were suspended, the magistrates' courts continue to function. Staff members are divided in two streams or in two teams to take turns in reporting for work, and in that way, the magistrates' courts kept their doors open to the public. However, in the early stages of the pandemic, the Walvis Bay and Windhoek courts, the traffic courts in Mongoda Street and Luther Street in Windhoek, were temporarily closed due to either a court official or a court user testing positive to COVID-19. For the period under review, the regional courts finalized only 20% of the cases on their own. That is way below the annual target of 62%. Backlog cases dealt with by the regional, district, and periodical courts from January to December 2020 were 7,533, of which 1,245 cases were finalized. That means 6,288 backlog cases were carried over to January 2021. Based on the above summary, for the period under review, the overall finalization rate of the lower courts is 44%, which is 18% below the annual target of 62%. Compared to the previous year, ending December 2019, where the finalization rate was 51%, there has been a decrease in the finalization rate by 7%. The poor performance, especially in the clearing of the backlog, was partly due to the reduction in service levels on account of the state of emergency, our inability to recruit more personnel due to budget cuts, and the fact that the Directorate of Legal Aid is not always able to make defense counsel available on time for court proceedings due to financial constraints. As magistrates' courts also deal with domestic violence cases, I wish to draw the public's attention to an important statistic. During the period under review, magistrates attended to 2,370 domestic violence cases, of which 1,835 resulted in interim protection orders and 765 protection orders were made final. An alarming number of 404 of these applications were withdrawn by the applicants. The 2020 reported domestic violence cases are more than the 2,044 reported in 2019. Violence in the home, therefore, continues to be a source for grave concern to us as the judiciary. Moving on to the central administration, the Office of the Auditor General conducted regulatory performance and compliance audits as required by Section 25(1)(c), Roman 3 of the State Finance Act, Act 31 of 1991, since the establishment of the Office of the Judiciary in 2016. I'm pleased to report that for all the audits conducted thus far, including the 2019-2020 financial year, the Office of the Auditor General has issued an unqualified opinion which demonstrates the Office's commitment to ensuring compliance with the governance and accountability framework established for all state institutions to operate within. For the 2019-2020 financial year, the Office of the Judiciary was allocated just over $400 million. To be exact, the amount is $375,652,000 for all its operational needs. That amount was reduced in the midterm budget review by almost $5 million. 76% of the budget allocation goes to personnel expenditure, leaving only $89,420,000 for the other needs of the judiciary. As of the 31st December 2020, the office has spent 75% of its allocated funds. Due to the reduction in budget during the midterm review, the office was forced to suspend the filling of critical vacant positions for judicial officers and staff members. In addition, the funds allocated for daily subsistence allowance for the magistrates' second and periodical court business was depleted by early January 2021. This is bound to have a major impact on the performance of the magistracy for the remainder of the financial year. The Office of the Judiciary has an approved personnel complement of 994 personnel, of which only 725 positions are filled at the moment. As at 31st December 2020, 27% of the posts are vacant, which are needed to be filled if we are to operate optimally. In the wake of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the office was forced to suspend some operations to veriment the budget to purchase material and equipment to contain the spread of the disease. The office deployed 4 million towards that end. Of this allocation, an amount of 2.1 million was already used to procure COVID-19 related materials, which represents 57 or 53% expenditure of the total allocation. Even before the budget suspension of 2020, the office had over the years had a significant deficit on its budget. The revised budget ceiling of 424,508,000 that the office received in 2017-2018 financial year was the most reasonable allocation, as it catered for most of the office needs. The budget ceilings for the office in subsequent years have lagged behind, to the extent that the office has always had to carry over unpaid outstanding invoices from one financial year to another. This will potentially adversely affect the office's ability to efficiently execute its core mandate. Currently, the judiciary is forecasting an overall budget shortfall of 23,600,305 Namibian dollars due to the insufficient budget allocation. The judiciary is experiencing challenges in respect of payment of witnesses' fees for the remainder of the financial year, as the allocated funds for this expenditure have already been depleted in December 2020. Potentially, not only are the new trials under threat of not commencing, but hard-held matters may not be completed, resulting in further backlogs. I accept that resources are limited, and more especially now in the midst of this pandemic. And no doubt, demands on national treasury will be increasing. But the situation is increasingly making it challenging for the judiciary to deliver speedy justice to the public. The maintenance of work carried out on various buildings of the judiciary during 2020 was phenomenally successful due to cooperation between us, the Ministry of Justice, and the Ministry of Works and Transport. 6 prefabricated periodical courts were completed and successfully handed over to users. The office has also managed to facilitate the renovation of 6 district courts and ensured the continued upgrading of the High Court's main division, with progress towards completion standing at 85%. The infrastructure for the commercial stream has also been commissioned. There is, however, an urgent need for further upgrading and renovations at other existing courts and facilities to provide a safe and conducive working environment for judicial officers and court officials. Regrettably, the provisional budget allocation to attend to this critical maintenance and upgrading of our facilities has proved not to be sufficient to date. In 2020, the judiciary sought to enhance the relationship between the courts and the media, and to ensure that there was timely access to information, especially during the lockdown, as the public was not allowed in open courts. As best we could in the circumstances, we facilitated the media's access to information so that it could inform the public. To make the judiciary even more accessible, the office has successfully launched its new revamped website, which is updated on a daily and weekly basis. It's to be found at www.judiciary.na. As I move towards the end of my address, I wish to address all judicial officers and court staff directly. Team Judiciary. 2020 was a difficult year, and while the promise of an effective vaccine is good news, the grim reality is that it will take time before it is administered and creates herd immunity in the general population. We should therefore not lower our guard, but remain vigilant and implement all the safety measures that we have now become accustomed to. We should harness the innovations that have so far helped us deflect the worst effects of the pandemic and diligently observe and enforce the necessary restrictions imposed by the government for the public good. As we enter a new legal year, the urgent task facing us is to ensure that the courts continue to run. As far as humanly possible, we should prioritize clearing the backlogs that have arisen from the impact of the pandemic. For those of us in the leadership of the judiciary, our employees' health, safety, and well-being remain a key priority. Everything possible must be done to ensure that the workplace and environment are safe. Finally, I wish to assure the public and the users of court services that the judiciary will remain or will weather the storm created by COVID-19 and will ensure that you are able to access court services in a safe environment. I thank you for listening to me.
At the heart of Namibia's democracy is a stable government that consists of three branches of state: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Established under Article 78 of the Namibian Constitution, the judiciary consists of the Supreme Court as the apex court in the country, the High Court, and the lower courts. The judiciary as an organ of state is mandated to advance justice through the rule of law and a system that provides fair, efficient, effective, and accessible justice for all. By fulfilling our mission of upholding the Constitution and promoting the rule of law through administering justice in a fair, timely, accountable, and accessible manner, this will allow for our vision to be manifested. The office envisions to be a world-class leader in judicial excellence. At the helm of this formidable institution that is built on the principles of independence, integrity, and transparency is a man of great character and respect. His Lordship Peter S. Shivute is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Namibia, Head of the Judiciary, as well as Office of the Judiciary. Under Article 78, the Namibian Constitution vests judicial authority in the courts, and these courts are independent, subject to the Constitution and the law. The judiciary is represented by the courts and the judicial officers on the bench, adjudicating over judicial matters, while the Office of the Judiciary was established on 31 December 2015 as the administrative arm of the judiciary, in a bid to promote financial and administrative independence. With 34 district and regional magistrates' courts, 2 high court seats, 1 Supreme Court, a commercial court, and a traffic court across the 14 regions, the Office of the Judiciary aims to ensure access to justice and effective and efficient service delivery. In addition to adjudicating over criminal, civil, labor, and other matters in court, we also provide services on a daily basis in our maintenance court, family court, domestic violence court, traffic court, and other additional quasi-judicial services in the various regions. The Office of the Judiciary remains committed to service the Namibian nation. Access to the courts remain very important to the institution, and equally so, the ability for citizens to retain trust and confidence in the judicial system. We continue to administer justice in an independent and impartial manner. Our judicial officers have taken an oath to be faithful to the Republic of Namibia, to uphold and protect the Namibian Constitution as the supreme law and the fundamental human rights and freedoms entrenched in it, and to administer justice to all persons alike in accordance with the Constitution and the law without fear, favor, or prejudice. In as far as information availability is concerned, the judiciary recently revamped and launched its new website that is more user-friendly. Visit www.judiciary.na. This is what we stand for. We are the Office of the Judiciary, and judicial excellence is our reality.
Chief Justice Peter Shivute, Honorable Deputy Chief Justice Petrus Damasip, Honorable Ministers of Justice Yvonne Downsap, Honorable Attorney General Festus Bandeka, Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, Honorable Judges of the High Court, the Worship Chief Magistrate and other magistrates, members of the media. Last week, I opened the first session of the Cabinet for this year. And yesterday, I was honored to open the third session of the 7th Parliament. Today's event completes the opening of the working calendars of the three organs of state, namely the executive, legislature, and judiciary. These three pillars are symbols of our governance architecture, which for 3 decades have maintained Namibia's status as a bastion of democracy, peace, stability, and the rule of law. Our constitutional democracy is anchored on key principles of justice, the rule of law, which encapsulates the supremacy of our Constitution and the separation of powers. The latter being one I want to focus on for a moment. As a constitutional imperative, the three organs of state are imbued with the responsibility to interact for the benefit of the collective good of the Namibian people. It is clear, however, that they do this conscious of the clear division of responsibilities in their respective core functions and with the intent to prevent the concentration of power and provide for checks and balances. This principle is sacrosanct and key to the functioning of the Namibian government. As a hallmark conception of our constitutional democracy, the executive is not taking its role in ensuring that the three organs of state are separate and act independently rightly. Namibians too must safeguard this democratic principle and not contribute to dilute its value. The judiciary plays a central role in the interaction of this triad, and its independence is rightly and firmly entrenched in our Constitution, to which end Article 78, bracket 3 of the Namibian Constitution reaffirms that, and I quote, "No member of the cabinet or the legislature or any other person shall interfere with the judges or judicial officers in the exercise of their judicial functions, and all organs of the state shall accord such assistance as the courts may require to protect their independence, dignity, and effectiveness, subject to the terms of this Constitution or any other law." As I reflect on the importance of this provision, I am also reminded that yesterday was Constitution Day, an important day to remember where we come from and reflect on where we are going. A reminder of the solemn promise we set out in our preambular provisions and the recognition that our Constitution must be transformative. Our society is yearning for that transformation, and we must, as a collective of the state organs, respond with urgency and vigor. I recommit to continue honoring this constitutional requirement and ensure that the judiciary remains independent, impartial, and serves the Namibian public with integrity, something they have done impeccably over the past 30 years. When citizens are aggrieved by the decisions of any organ of the state, they can approach the courts for redress. Accordingly, the rule of law, the administration of justice, and protection of civil liberties are anchors that buttress the stability of our Namibian House. These principles must be respected and protected by all Namibians as a collective. Ladies and gentlemen, the opening of this legal year is historic, as it marks the first time the opening of the legal year is being hosted in a virtual setting. This is a sign of our times. The fourth industrial revolution is at our doorsteps, albeit forced onto us through a public health emergency called COVID-19. The fact that we are meeting in this way shows adaptability on our part and should be seen as a welcome opportunity to change the way we do things. Indeed, COVID-19 has left an indelible mark on nearly every aspect of our personal and professional lives. Like every country in the world, Namibia was not spared from the destructive impact of the coronavirus. As a consequence, government is collaborating with various stakeholders, has over the past several months put in place containment measures and key economic responses in order to limit the negative human and economic impact of COVID-19. The objective of these measures is to address the negative economic and social effects stemming from the pandemic. These measures include travel restrictions, curfew orders, and the limitation of all services in the country, except for essential services, legal services falling into this category. As difficult as these measures have been for our citizens, they have been necessary in preventing a humanitarian disaster. At this juncture, I wish to express appreciation to the members of our judiciary and the independent legal profession for their invaluable support during our continuing war against COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, I have christened this year 21 as the year of resilience, with the understanding that it will take resilience and fortitude for us to overcome the devastation caused by COVID-19 pandemic and continue the pursuit of our developmental aspirations. I have the utmost confidence that our robust and long-standing legal traditions and the resilience and tenacity of our legal community will come to the fore as we commence with our rebuilding efforts under new and unique circumstances. Going forward, we will be called upon ever more frequently to do more with less, and thus become innovative and more efficient in the execution of our mandates and respective duties. In this regard, I am pleased to note that the judiciary has and continues to take the necessary steps to enter the information age. As we continue to grapple with the pandemic while trying to curb expenditure, we will be required to increase our reliance on various technological platforms for communication and execution of our responsibilities in effort to ensure access to the courts and legal services. I am therefore pleased to note that the Office of the Judiciary has made digital footprints with the launching of the official website, which was developed in-house with an intended purpose of disseminating much-needed information to the public, including the services offered by the judiciary. I have stated that transparency and accountability are prerequisites for guaranteeing trust in our institutions. Therefore, we should continue to bring the work of the three organs of state ever closer to the people. Honorable Chief Justice, ladies and gentlemen, although the current circumstances require all of us to practice the utmost prudence with regards to utilization of resources, government acknowledges that limited resources have had a negative effect on the ability of the judiciary to execute on its mandate with speed and fairness. We are aware of these resource constraints and the challenges they pose to effective service delivery in some areas within a justice paradigm. However, we remain committed to ensure that there is improvement going forward. I therefore call for continued dialogue so that we find most appropriate solutions in the midst of existing financial constraints. While acknowledging that limited resources negatively impact the work of the judiciary, it is my hope that there will be increased efforts to speed up the finalization of cases and that the overall management of the administration of justice will instill trust in the Namibian public. Our legal practitioners have an important role to play in the administration of justice paradigm. In particular, I want to remind our independent legal profession what I said before and which I want to repeat for emphasis. Namely, law is a tool that should drive social change and enhance social justice. And unfortunately, we don't see enough of that in our society. In fact, there is growing discontent from the public in the manner justice is delivered, and this requires introspection on all fronts. The lack of access to legal services and to the courts to a wide selection of our society should be an indictment on our collective conscience. I therefore take the opportunity to encourage our private legal practitioners to do more pro bono work through outreach programs in remote areas where the need is greatest. I know there is a program through the Law Society, but we need to do more. I understand that there have been some delays in finalizing the review of the Legal Practitioners Act, which is an important catalyst in introducing some aspects of the pro bono culture and to redefining legal practices in scope and nature for the betterment of our society through increased access to justice, and it is my hope that these too shall be finalized soon in order to provide much needed relief to our indigent communities. Currently, government, through its funded legal aid program, is doing its part, but clearly this is not enough, and the review of this legal legislation is an opportunity for us to hold hands for the benefit of our people. We must understand that in these times of economic challenges, it is the most vulnerable members of our society that suffer. In this regard, our judiciary must increasingly become an indispensable and integral role player in the fight against poverty, corruption, and inequality. The provision of free legal advice has the ability to keep a family in its home and may help save a woman or a child from exploitation and abuse. Let us therefore all work hard to ensure that justice is made available to every citizen. Our justice system must be inclusive, but effectively deterring and punishing criminal activity without favor or prejudice, and by providing outlets for the redress of grievances. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenges facing Namibia at this current moment are daunting, but not insurmountable. Furthermore, many of these challenges are not unique to Namibia, but are reflective of the current global turmoil caused by economic downturn and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Through unity of purpose and hard work, I'm confident that we will be able to emerge from this period as a stronger and more resilient nation. Let us continue holding hands and pulling in the same direction, guided by a spirit of trust and collaboration. I am confident that if we will pull together, as we have always done, we will ensure that we maintain our liberty, unity, and justice. Let us be grateful that here in Namibia, we live in a stable democracy, a democracy in which the people can aspire to improve their livelihoods and hope for a better tomorrow. Let us therefore cherish this nation and ensure that the independence of our judiciary is maintained, that rule of law is upheld, and that the pursuit of prosperity remains unhindered. With this, I now declare open the legal year of 2021 and wish you all a productive and successful year. Long live the Republic of Namibia, and I thank you.
Lead us from death to life, from falsehood to truth, from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead us from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, let peace fill our world. Let peace fill our universe.
You gotta believe there's some healing. You gotta have faith, 'cause there is hope. You gotta be strong, show some power through love. You gotta believe there's some healing. You gotta have faith, 'cause there is hope. You gotta be strong, show some power through love, through love. Love one another, care for each other, free yourself and have some healing, have some power and have some faith. Love one another, one another, love one another, care for each other, free yourself and get some healing, have some power and have some faith.
His Excellency Dr. Haige Kengop, the President of the Republic of Namibia, His Lordship Peter Shivute, Chief Justice of the Republic of Namibia, and on that note, I stand on the established protocol. A warm and graceful morning to all our invited guests. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I stand before you with a deep sense of honor, privilege and humility to express on behalf of the Chief Justice, my colleagues and other participants at this gathering, our profound gratitude to Your Excellency, Mr. President, for having taken time off your many responsibilities to join us here today and to share this occasion with us. We are very grateful indeed. It would be remiss of me, indeed I would be failing in my duty, if I would sign off without reminding the nation of the importance of preserving, respecting, protecting, and promoting judicial independence as one of the cornerstones or main pillars of democracy. I wish to remind Namibia that it behoves all of us to jealously guard and protect the integrity, dignity, and authority of our courts, starting with the leadership in government and that of all political parties. Politicians, supporters and fanatics, the media, legal practitioners, judicial officers, and all law enforcement agencies, security forces, and every member of the public are all under the constitutional duty to respect, strengthen, and protect the rule of law. Without it, the consequences are too ghastly to complete. Without it, the consequences are too ghastly to contemplate. Indeed, should we let the rule of law go, who will protect the weak against the strong, the poor against the rich, the vulnerable against the privileged, and the Davids against the Goliaths of this world? Justice brings peace and stability, which are the bedrock of safety and prosperity, amongst others. Then the rest will follow. It is my pleasure to announce that this year, magistrates have recommitted themselves to work very hard and to the best of their ability, cognizant of the demands of their high office. Director of Ceremonies, I, on behalf of the Office of the Judiciary and the entire organization, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the speakers for gracing your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions today. I would like to thank all the respected representatives of the other organs of state, the legal fraternity, and stakeholders who have blessed us with their presence. A special word of thanks to the Office of the President for the virtual preparations and assistance rendered. A special word of thanks with a deep sense of gratitude to the NCS Brass Band for their beautiful and calming renditions, and for always partnering with the Office of the Judiciary at the beginning of the year, at the opening of our legal year. This year, we recognize every effort that you have put into the performance of the anthems to make our virtual opening of the legal year a reality. And I would also like to thank the Office of the Judiciary Choir, with special features Mr. Bongani Garoip and Mrs. Rosé Waters, for working tirelessly to come up with songs and assisting us in singing like stars. Your hard work is appreciated and will surely be rewarded. I would like to thank all the respected representatives of the media houses, print as well as radio and broadcast media, and a special word of thanks to the NBC, who graciously assisted our office in making sure that this event can be live streamed on all their platforms to be viewed by the entire nation and those who could not make it. The Office of the Judiciary further extends a word of gratitude to all our viewers and stakeholders and partners without whom we would not have navigated through the challenging year. We owe a deep gratitude to the Office of the Judiciary under the administrative leadership of the Executive Director, Mrs. Rolanda van Wyk, and her team for having worked tirelessly in organizing this event. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. Last but not least, I thank the Director of Ceremonies for the orderly and swift manner in which he has directed the proceedings. I thank you.
National salute, present!